Hello, Tim. How you doing today?
I'm well, Eddie. How are you?
Doing great, Tim. It's a pleasure to have you back in the show. And today I want to talk about specifically your managed sales team service, your appointment setting service, your revenue driving service for. I've noticed that you've been crushing it in cybersecurity space for a lot of cybersecurity companies. And I want to ask you a couple of questions so that users of the CloudTools Marketplace, probably watching this video, can learn a little bit more about your service and identify if this is a good fit for their needs or not. There's three questions that I want to ask you today in order to get to the bottom of who this service is for. And actually, that's the first question. Who's the best fit for this service offer, Tim?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients are either service providers or managed security service providers that are looking to go and sell into regulated industries. So it could be banking, it could be healthcare. Those types of organizations are a really good fit. Or if they, as a service, primarily offer some type of pen testing, audit services, things like that.
Excellent. I noticed that the penetration test is an angle that you use a lot to position the need for probably another provider and allows you to book the meetings, allows your clients to have an ample time to express their capabilities, their strengths, and try to convert from there. Awesome. Now that takes me to my second question. Walk us through the components of this service offer from a process, platform, maybe even people involved in the delivery or the outcome of this service.
Yeah, so the first thing we start is really understanding like who your ideal customer profile is, and then we go to multiple data sources and get verified emails, verified phones, and specifically with penetration testing, we have our own internal intent data of companies that we've called over the last couple of years that have expressed interest in pen test and would be potentially looking for a new vendor. So a lot of these companies every year, 3 5 years will swap vendors out. So we have that data at least as it relates to the United States. So
Mhm.
our customers not only are going out to like a Zoom Info or a Seamless to get verified emails or phones, or even third-party intent data, they're getting our own proprietary data that we know that the companies are likely to be looking for a pen test this year.
Awesome. So that makes you particularly suited for these cybersecurity solutions and services companies because you can generate, as you were mentioning earlier, generate net new leads. You have access to different databases and sources, but you also have your own proprietary that you've been creating over the years, content, contacts, people, and companies that you have already established a contact with, asserted that they are interested in evaluating another provider for penetration tests, which
Yep.
makes your solution almost like hit the ground running when it comes to deploying these campaigns.
Yep.
Talk to me about the channels that are involved in this service.
Yeah. So once we get the data, then we have scripts that we know that we've A/B tested that are good, and then we have specific BDRs and SDRs that have experience selling cybersecurity solutions. So with those, then we go out to things like LinkedIn, email, and then ultimately, cold calling and picking up the phone. So those channels are great if you've done your homework in terms of having quality data, quality messaging that is going to resonate, and the talent that are used to dealing with objections from a customer or a prospect on why they should consider taking a meeting. And then from there, we run those campaigns. So a lot of our clients are looking to do a pen test initially and then land and expand. So we can oftentimes come in very quickly and get those initial prospects warmed up for the customer much faster than I would say most companies that don't have the experienced staff, messaging, and obviously the intent data that we have.
Excellent. That's a fair point, Tim, because while there are some great agencies out there that have a, let's say, a robust process, replicable, scalable process of deploying campaigns quickly, they may not have the expertise in this particular field that you have in terms of, hey, not only creating a good database from the get-go, but also what is the type of messaging that is going to resonate with these, let's say, CTO, CISO leaders they're gonna, what sparks their interest, right? You have that experience, so you can deploy that quickly as well. And you mentioned the talent, that you only work with people that have experience selling cybersecurity. Maybe you want to click a little bit more there. What type of experience, how many years of experience does the team that you work with have, in order to give the viewers of this video right now a little bit of reassurance that you have the staff that knows how to deploy these campaigns, that is not just you, the one that knows and will scope out everything, but whoever you put in charge of cold calling, sending emails, and replying to buyers will also have that level of expertise. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah. So either it's someone that's come out of, their maybe their first job for like 3 to 5 years where they've cold called in another tech setting, or they're later in their career where they're looking to just do this, all the time. So I would say most of our clients are looking for either really experienced people, right, that have done this for decades, or, someone that this isn't their first SDR, BDR job. And then what I look for in addition to that level of experience is someone that has cold called within technology companies. And usually for the cybersecurity campaigns, they have that cybersecurity background before I put them on our cybersecurity campaigns. So we've
Excellent.
got
It
some
does say.
internal proven track record.
Fantastic. And I do believe it takes a bit of a special personality, because you cannot be full aggressive with IT leaders. You have to earn their trust in order to gradually start presenting and earn the chance to disclose what your solution entails and can do. Now, there's a couple of things about my last question that you've already started answering, in terms of, well, the question is, what can a client expect in the first 120 days of buying this service? So you already mentioned the database, the team, but walk me through what an onboarding would look like. What are the milestones, the deliverables, maybe the timeframes, and if you can, at the end, sprinkle a little bit of the results that you've been able to achieve for previous customers selling cybersecurity solutions, platforms, etc.
Sure. So usually the first 3 months is the most critical of getting your campaign up. So month one typically is setting up, you validating the list of targets, right? So understanding your ICP, pulling out the roles within those organizations, getting you to approve that, and then creating the scripts, and then obviously getting you to approve that. So that normally happens in the first month. So the first 2 weeks, hopefully, we're quick and you guys are quick to approve it. That's good. And then by the end of month one, after a couple of weeks of cold calling, we should have our first appointment. And then
Perfect.
the
So,
goal is to get one sales qualified lead, which we work with you to define what that SQL is. But typically it would be, your obviously your ICP, the decision maker, or for a large organization, maybe the influencer, of the decision that is looking to buy. So, we use at a high level, we use BANT. So they have budget, they're the authority, or maybe the influencer for a larger organization. They obviously have a need for the pen test, and then they have an acceptable timeline. So once that sales qualified lead is booked, you guys have the meeting, right? And then you validate, yes, this is a sales qualified lead. So within the first month, you should get your first book meeting. And then as those meetings transpire, they should be qualified from your end. So within month two, you should be getting one, book meeting a week. And then as they happen, you should be qualifying that. So longer term, over that 3-month period, you should be getting one sales qualified lead a week. And so from month 4 to month 6, our clients are usually getting some type of commitment from a prospect, a signed contract, and then obviously, hopefully, the goal is that you get the revenue in that 6 months that at least will pay for the services that you've got from us, and then we can start scaling that out after the first 6-month engagement.
That's amazing, Tim. One thing I want to double click, because it stood out to me before we started recording. You were mentioning how, while the outcome of this service is a sales qualified lead, an appointment with someone that is, as you said, it matches the buyer's criteria, is ready to talk about sales, is ready to explore the solution. You're not just booking meetings and letting the buyer deal with them, you're also invested in making sure that they get an ROI from the investment that they're making in your company. So while the main outcome that buyers of this service are looking for would be appointment setting, you go the extra mile. You see if they have deficiencies and maybe converting the meetings that you're setting, closing, right? Let's say account executive work. You can provide assistance there. You can provide training. You can provide guidance. All around, you could cover or have services that can cover the full sales cycle, while the majority of customers probably just need the appointment setting. But you always look in terms of delivering a return on the investment so that your customers are not only happy but continue to stick with you, grow with you, and have long-term relationships. That's something that stood out to me. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience in terms of annual contract values that are recommended for these type of solutions, or maybe tips on when it's best to engage with your services, or when it would be too premature or too late? I don't know if that's an angle you may want to cover before we
Yeah.
wrap it
So
up.
from a, an annual contract value, most of our clients are looking, 6 to 7 figures for their longer term engagements with their customers. So the way we do the pen test is we try to get an initial pen test. So a lot of times they might be $20,000 to $100,000, depending on the complexity and what the customer, their customer wants. And then from there should be some type of remediation or ongoing managed security service that comes out of that pen test. So that's how we're seeing our clients get, 6, 7 figure annual contract values. But most of our clients are either founders. So if they're a founder, they may not be a salesperson, right? Or they're trying to build out their sales team and they don't have the budget to hire a sales team. So the way we support them is we look at, how are they selling on that initial call, right? So I've worked with customers on their pitch deck, how they're going to present that conversation to the customer, and then also work with them to triage, like, yes, we got you a sales qualified lead, but ultimately, everyone listening to this video ultimately wants revenue. They may say they want a sales qualified lead, but at the end of the day, they want revenue, right? So what we try to do is understand, why isn't it, you guys are saying it's a sales qualified lead, what is not allowing the customer to buy? And a lot of companies are used to an internal referral or a customer referral or a friend and family referral. And so they're not used to getting a super cold lead. So there's a lot of other factors that go into a much more colder, warm handoff, right? So I'll work with our clients, whether it's the founder or the salesperson, to understand what's not working, to try to drive that initial revenue. Because the best predictor for me to have a customer say long term is that we get them revenue after that 6 month window. And if they get the 6 month window and they pay at least for us and they break even, then they're likely to stay longer term, regardless of what they tell you in the initial conversations. Obviously, they say yes to sales qualified lead, but then it always comes down to, well, I haven't gotten revenue. I haven't paid for this yet. So,
Right.
customers are okay with saying sales qualified lead, but they really mean revenue. So we want to make sure that they get that revenue in 6 months.
Excellent, Tim. There's a couple comments to unpack there. Definitely your experience in the cybersecurity space comes through when you recommend, hey, if you have a penetration test, that could be your land and expand offer, rather than going for full implementation of consulting services or monitoring from the get-go. Start from the penetration test. Second, the expertise that you have in knowing how to handle both the companies and the services and how they position themselves, the pitch, the decks that they're using to present, as well as the audience that they're going to be speaking with, what that audience expect, how that audience should be handled, and all the recommendations that you can give there really come through in your managed service solution. So Tim, I want to thank you for giving us more details. For any company in cybersecurity that is considering to hire Tim and his managed service solutions to grow your revenue for your cybersecurity solution, just go and hit interview so you can have a session with Tim, or contact me at ebello@cloutos.com, and we will be assisting you in coordinating a session with Tim so that you can explore the capabilities and the possibilities of running a campaign with Tim's managed sales teams. Tim, thank you so much for the explanation. I guess I'll catch you on the next one then.
Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Bye bye.
Cheers.